Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Please rise as you're willing and able and join in singing hymn number 1003, which is Where Do We Come From? We'll be singing this as a round. We sing it through once completely, and then the second time, that side starts, and I'll start this side when it's time to jump in. Here we go. Welcome. And I see we have a lot of seats up front. If you need a seat, there are plenty of seats in the front couple rows. My name is Klaus Obermeit. I'm chair of our worship team. We especially want to welcome our visitors, both on campus and over live stream. We invite our visitors to find out more about us and Unitarian Universalism. To do so, just go to our homepage at uusrq.org. Click on the link to our newcomers page, and on that page, click the Get the Newsletter link. This takes you to our guest book page, where you can sign up, and we will send you our weekly newsletter and Zoom links to our virtual events. If you're in person, there is a sign-up sheet for visitors at the welcome table right outside the sanctuary. We invite you to join us for coffee and conversation after the service. We look forward to getting to know each other. Now, there's also an annual meeting today, 10 minutes after the service. We need enough members to attend to validate our votes. If you're watching over live stream, the Zoom link is in the weekly email. And today is the last day to sign up for the Seder, which is Thursday, April 2nd, but today's the last day to sign up. Today's guest musician is Noel Harris, who's been playing local venues for a long time. Noel, we welcome you to our stage.
All right, good morning. How y'all doing? How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? How many seas must a white dove sail before she rests in the sand? How many years must a cannonball fly before they are forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many years can a mountain exist before it is washed to the sea? And how many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? Yes, and how many times can a man turn his head, pretend that he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Yes, and how many times can a man look up before he can see the sky? Yes, and how many ears must one man have before he can hear people cry? Yes, and how many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. One more time. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
If you have an open seat next to you, could you please raise your hand? Okay, just want to let those people outside know there are seats.
Our opening reading today is titled Self-Culture by William Ellery Channing. I would that I could speak with an awakening voice to the people of their wants, their privileges, their responsibilities. I would say to them, you cannot, without guilt and disgrace, stop where you are. The past and the present call on you to advance. Let what you have gained be an impulse to something higher. Your nature is too great to be crushed. You were not created what you are merely to toil, eat, drink, and sleep. If you will, you can rise. No power in society.
On the here and now and look towards the future generations. For who knows when we may pass this way again or what may happen in an afterlife. This is the life we have now. So let's live it building a beloved community where all can be seen and valued and heard, where our spirits are nurtured and the world feels our love. I now invite any children and youth to join the teachers in the classrooms for a fun lesson on dirt. Thank you.
this is a song that was written a long time ago. Well, not that long ago. It was written a while ago, and it's still as pertinent today as it's actually more pertinent today than it was when it was written. This is a song called "What's So Funny About Peace, Love, and Understanding." As I walk through this wicked world, searching for light in the darkness of insanity, I ask myself, is all hope lost? Is there only pain and hatred and misery? Each time I feel like this inside, there's one thing I want to know. What's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? Oh, what's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? As I walk through these troubled times, my spirit gets so downhearted some of the times. So where are the strong? And who are the trusted? And where is the harmony, the sweet harmony? Each time I feel it slipping away, it just makes me want to cry. What's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? Oh, what's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? Strong, and who are the trusted, and where is the harmony, the sweet harmony? Each time I feel like this inside, it just makes me want to cry. What's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? Oh, what's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? Oh, what's so funny about peace, love, and understanding?
Thank you, Noel. You know, it's so interesting. So first of all, I'm the Reverend J. Wolin, the minister here at the Unitarian Universalists of Sarasota. Usually I introduce myself at the beginning, but I didn't do the beginning today, so I don't want, there might be some new people here who don't know who I am. Who's this guy getting up there? Now, that's how my mind works anyway. Our centering in words today are from Ralph Waldo Emerson. I actually took it from the Divinity School address, not Nature, though. This is what happens on late Saturday night when you decide to change the words. When the mind opens and reveals the laws which traverse the universe and make things what they are, then shrinks the great world at once into a mere illustration of and fable of this mind. What am I, and what is? Asks the human spirit with a curiosity new kindled, but never to be quenched. Behold these outrunning laws, which our imperfect apprehension can see, tend this way and that, but never quite come full circle. Behold these infinite relations, so like and unlike, yet one. I would study, I would know, I would admire forever. These works of thought have been the entertainment of the human spirit in all ages. End quote. As we go into a time of silence now, let us contemplate the joys and the sorrows that pass through this life. As well, let us specifically remember our member Marilyn Sarasky, who died this past week. So history for Unitarian Universalists is complicated. In some ways, we are very old, and in other ways, we are very young. The roots of Unitarian Universalism go all the way back to early Christianity, when different groups struggled to define the meaning of the teachings of Jesus. But then Unitarianism formally emerged during the Protestant Reformation, and in 1568, the Edict of Torda was issued by King Sigismund of Transylvania, now Romania, and that it declared that preachers could teach according to their own understanding, including Unitarianism. Now, that was a radical act of religious freedom at that time. Universalism emerged later, proclaiming a God of love rather than of damnation. And in the United States, the Universalists organized around 1793, and the Unitarians followed in 1825. And then in 1961, the two traditions consolidated to form what we now call Unitarian Universalism. So in one sense, we are ancient, going back to the time of Jesus. And in another sense, we are barely 65 years old. And to make it even more complex, the majority of us were not raised as Unitarian Universalists. So we carry with us many religious and cultural inheritances. I can tell you, having grown up in the Jewish tradition, history and culture was central to religious upbringing. My own evolution of understanding tells me that although history cannot be the whole of a religion, it is still an essential part of it. The stories, the myths, culture, and scriptures of Judaism are still with me as part of my Unitarian Universalist religion, but it doesn't uniquely define me or my theology today. Similarly, our Unitarian Universalist history does not define us, but it is a part of us today. And it still can inform us who we become. Now, some traditions, history tells you what you must believe, right? In others, it tells you how you must act. In Unitarian Universalism, history does something different. It invites us to ask questions, to ask what can we learn from the past that helps us to become better human beings and helps us to build a better world in the future. Our history is not a cage, but a guide. And one of those defining moments in that history came in the early 1800s. At that time, the Unitarians was still part of the Congregationalist churches, which is now part of United Churches of Christ, UCC, or as the old Unitarian joke goes, Unitarians considering Christ. It's an oldie but a goodie. Some Congregationalists were Trinitarian, others had Unitarian ministers. They coexisted side by side together until a breaking point came in 1805 when a Unitarian, Henry Ware, was appointed to be lead the Harvard Divinity School. And that was just, I guess, a bridge too far for those Trinitarians. And so they started their own divinity school, Andover Newton Seminary. And I have to just say, ironically, in 2010, after the financial crisis, Andover Newton and the Unitarian Seminary, Meadville, Lombard, had actually had merger conversations. And there are multiple reasons, many of which I'm sure I'm not privy to. It did not work out. And a few years later, Andover Newton merged instead with the more conservative Yale University, Harvard's competitor. So, maybe there are some old grudges still in there. I don't know. But I digress. Trinitarians started pressuring the Unitarian ministers. And interestingly, one of the ways they did this was by refusing to share pulpits with them. Now, you might think, well, this is not that important. But back in the day, people were expected to go to church twice a day, and ministers would preach at each service 2 hours, up to 2 hours. So please don't get upset if I go 5 minutes over, please. So ministers, so instead of having to create two-hour sermons every week, they would just switch pulpits with the minister who was closest to them. And so not being able to share pulpits created a heavy burden for the Unitarian ministers. And in truth, the Trinitarians didn't want a Unitarian message being preached at their congregations. And eventually, this and other tensions led to separation. And into that moment stepped William Ellery Channing, Reverend, often called the parent of American Unitarianism. His sermon, Unitarian Christianity, preached in 1819, helped define a new path, one grounded not in doctrine, but in reason conscience, and moral growth. And this was radical, again, for its time, to question miracles, right? To critically analyze the scriptures, to trust human reason. These were no small shifts. These were seismic, earthquake-like shifts. And a powerful idea emerged from that foundational idea, the idea of self-culture. Channing described it as a responsibility of each person has to develop and unfold their own nature. So it's not predetermined. We have to unfold our own nature to grow in thought, to grow in moral principle, and to grow in love. And this was a religion of not of fixed answers, but of human potential. Self-culture is a theology of human beings' capacity for intentional growth. This was not to be thought of in material terms, although I don't think Channing really seemed to oppose that, but improvement, it was believed, could be accomplished by looking within as a means of improving our character. Now, I believe that is why we come together, and by that I do not just mean Unitarian Universalists, but why throughout history humankind has had such strong connection to communal religion. It's a way to remind ourselves of our possibilities, to remind ourselves of our connectedness to each other, and to remind ourselves of what our best selves could one day be. Self-culture also posed the question as to the limits to what any person's potential could be. Reverend James Freeman Clarke stated, "I do not believe that we are able to make of ourselves anything we please." And now I knew this from a very young age. I knew no matter how much I practiced, I was never going to be a point guard for the New York Knicks in the NBA. Right? But the point made throughout the transcendentalist writings, though, is that we should not limit ourselves in our desire to grow, to reach our own full potential, whatever that may be. As I often say, I do not know my limits until I have passed them. Yeah. And sometimes our thoughts and our abilities can become a self-fulfilling prophecy, for better or worse. Right? Either we think we can do something or we think we can't. And if we focus our thoughts and our actions on one or the other, at least we will find out if we can, if we focus on what we think we can do. And while we believe in human potential, we also know this. Not everybody begins from the same place. Not everyone has the same opportunities. Not everyone has the same abilities. And still, everyone is worthy, and everyone should have the opportunity to reach their full potential. We learned that equality is not the same as justice. And understandably, there was always a critique of this, and Channing recognized that, and so he addressed it in his writings. If we focus only inward on self-development, we will risk becoming self-absorbed, detached from suffering in the world. So Channing wrote that true self-culture must be moral. It must include a commitment to the well-being of others. Or in other words, growth that does not lead to justice is not true growth. And this is where our history begins to point us forward, right? Because today we might say that self-culture is not enough. We are called not only to self-culture, but also to interculture and intercultural competence, right? To understand not just ourselves, our background, our context, our view of the world, right? But also to understand others, each other and others who are not here. What is their view of the world? What is their context that brings them to their conclusions? And it's a need to recognize that our flourishing and our liberation are all bound together with each other. Well, one way that we sustain flourishing here at the Unitarian Universalists of Sarasota is through our weekly offering. So please help us flourish by being as generous as you can be. For those online or those here on your cell phone, there is a link to donate in the description of the YouTube video or a QR code in the order of service. Let this sacred time begin. Our next reading is a little more modern, from the Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt, who is the president of the Unitarian Universalist Association. Each president puts out their own pocket guide. As a new member, you always get a copy of this. Unitarian Universalism places love at the center of our living tradition. It is a love that sets us free, not free as in having the power to do whatever we want, but free as in not weighed down or bound by the patterns of hatred and control that get passed down from generation to generation. Free as in restless and called to solidarity whenever we witness injustice. Free as in knowing without a doubt that we are worthy and that it is ours to invite others into the same wisdom about themselves. Free to imagine a world where children are not in harm's way. Free to express our highest values and what we believe in as many poetic forms as there are people in the room. Free to build communities that love us enough that we are held when we falter and invited back into sacred covenant when we fail. And we know that it is not enough to simply say that love lives at the center of our tradition. We must also ask what it means to live as if love itself matters. And one other thing that matters is the wonderful music that we are about to hear.
So this is a song I've been playing for a long time, and I decided to spice it up a little for you guys. Hopefully that's not going to be my folly. But y'all know this song. I want you to sing along. This is probably the ultimate protest song. Something happening here. What it is ain't exactly there. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware. If I stop here, what's that sound? Anyway, look what's going down.
Curious, how many of you went to a No Kings rally yesterday? Look at that. Yeah. I also want to say in the morning, I really want to appreciate the organizers of the No Kings rally because they moved it in Sarasota to 4 p.m. because for the last 6 months, many of our congregants as well as others in an interfaith alliance went to a Saving Democracy, created the Saving Democracy event with Kathleen Stewart as the keynote. So if you were involved in that, please raise your hand as well. Look at that, how many people were involved. Thank you. It really was a great day yesterday, a reminder about living out our values in our actions in the world. So thank you. Thank you for doing it. Give yourselves, again, another round of applause. And I think I talked about this a while back, about how, yes, this is just one thing. It's a reminder to us and a reminder to others that there are people who disagree with the values that are being instilled by our government, and that we don't agree with those values. I think that has to inspire us. If that's all it is, it's not going to be enough. But it was inspiring, and it's a reminder, and that has to inspire us into action, particularly over the next 6 months as we come upon our next election. And try and instill individuals with values that are similar to ours. So, I want to say it's interesting. We when we're here, we think, of course, everybody is like us and agrees with us and knows about us. But I was reminded how hard it can be to explain Unitarian Universalism to people. When we're together at a rally, I saw many of you there yesterday. I know there was another one up at UTC in the morning I didn't get to. But, or in a meeting or in this building, right, we often assume a shared understanding. You may not know about King Sigismund, whatever, but we have a shared understanding of who we are. We speak the same language, so to speak, the language of justice, the language of compassion, the language of community. But step outside of these spaces, and sadly, many people have never heard of us. So what do we say? What is it that makes us uniquely who we are? What is UU culture? Well, recently, Catherine Bonner and I went to Ringling College to have lunch with students and some faculty at a monthly gathering that they host to explore different religious groups. And we had an hour to share with each other, to ask and answer questions. And when you're in a short time period, you are forced to narrow down as succinctly as possible what is unique about Unitarian Universalism, because that might be the only time these people ever hear about us. So after sharing our list of values, I kept coming back to the fact that the true uniqueness of Unitarian Universalism is our pluralism. Many religions speak of love, many religions speak of justice, others speak of belonging, but like most religions, right? We gather around the big questions. Why are we here? What is our purpose in this world? How do we deal with suffering? How should we live our life? What happens to us after we die? We learn from multiple sources of religious wisdom, including from nature and from our experiences in the world. And we invite people to make meaning in the world in ways that are meaningful to them. But we say something else as well. We do not prescribe a belief. Instead of giving people answers, we say we create an environment to explore together. And that, to me, is who we are. That is our UU identity. We are explorers. And that openness has a history, too, because once Unitarianism rejected the Trinity, once Universalism rejected eternal damnation, we opened the door to questioning. And once you open that door, there is no closing it again. And people came. Many people came, bringing new ideas and new traditions, new ways of understanding. Spiritualists, humanists, Buddhists, Jews, Hindus, atheists, agnostics, Muslims, seekers of all kinds. And it was not until 1898, so some 70 years after we were formed, that we formally affirmed in writing our freedom of belief clause. And we have kept it ever since. We became a faith not defined by doctrine, but by covenant. Covenant is one of the oldest parts of our tradition. Right? It goes back to the Puritans and the Cambridge Platform of 1648, something you only learn in seminary, trust me. But these are agreements about how people live together in community. Not what they would believe, but how they would be with one another. And in a time when so many institutions ask you to check your doubts at the door, our covenant says, bring all of you, your questions, your doubts, your whole self, and then let's all figure it out together. And that is still our question today. How do we agree to walk together? Especially when we don't always agree on everything. Because here is the truth. We are not just a group of like-minded people who happen to gather on Sunday mornings to hear, hopefully, a good service. We are Unitarian Universalists. And that has to mean something. It means we inherit a tradition of religious freedom, a tradition of questioning, a tradition of transformation. And it also means that we drop things sometimes. That actually fits right into the sermon, and I didn't plan it. The universe is answering me, right? The next line was we inherit a tradition of struggle. Right? We have taken stands for justice, sometimes boldly, sometimes imperfectly, and we are heirs to a long tradition of what heresy actually means in its original Greek, choice. Right? We chose to not accept the status quo, except for those who chose to accept it. Right? We chose to oppose slavery, except for those who chose silence or profited from it. Right? We chose to fight for women's suffrage and then complicated it with others insisting on everyone's rights to vote, including former enslaved people. We chose initially to support prohibition. Many of you probably don't realize that, except for those who chose to drink. We chose to support LGBTQ justice, reproductive justice, immigration justice, racial justice, though not without disagreement over strategy and leadership. right? Over time, certain wars we chose to support and others we chose not to support. And each time, there were those who chose to disagree, right? We each have a choice to make. And that is both the beauty and the challenge of Unitarian Universalism. There is an expectation that you will be open to listening and to learning from one another and each other's experiences. But most of all, we ask that you do no harm. Our history is not a story of uniform triumph, but it is a story of people often courageous, often contradictory, trying to live up to their highest values of their time, and sometimes falling short, and then getting back up and trying again. Right? We have moved forward not because we were always right, but because we were willing to keep choosing. So where are we going? Well, here's where I think our history speaks most clearly. It tells us, do not be trapped by the past, but do not ignore it either. I always liked what Rabbi Mordecai Kaplan, the founder of Reconstruction Judaism, once said. He said, history gets a vote, but not a veto. End quote. We look back not to replicate, but to learn. We see where we have lived out our values well, and there is much to look back on and see that, and we see where we have fallen short. And we see how easily we can become disconnected from a changing world. And we are reminded time and time again that Unitarian Universalism does not stand on history. We move, but we do not move blindly. We move with humility. We move with intention. We move with the awareness that the outcomes are not always what we expect. And most importantly, if I have to stress this, the most important point, we must move together. And so I return to the questions that we began with. Where do we come from? We come from a tradition of freedom, reason, and the belief in human potential. And what are we? We are a pluralistic, covenantal community committed to relationship. And where are we going? Who knows? That is still unfolding. But if our history teaches us anything, it is this. We are at our best when we are open, when we are courageous, and when we are willing to grow. And when that growth leads not just to personal fulfillment, but to the healing of the world. May it be so. Thank you. Thank you. Please rise in body and/or spirit for our closing hymn 170, We Are a Gentle, Angry People.
We are gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives. We are gentle, angry people,
closing words are from the Reverend Forrest Church's book, Love and Death. We must have the courage to bear up under pain, the grace to take our successes lightly, the liberation that comes with forgiveness, the energy to address the task that awaits our doing, the meaning to be found in giving ourselves to others, and the patience to surmount things that are dragging us down, and the joy to be gained in even the smallest endeavor, the wonder that lies between the sacred moment of our birth and our death. And I call this thoughtful wishing for what is ours here and now, to have, to do, and to be. Please join me now in extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Deeply thank you for your presence here today. And I would normally tell you to go forth, get a cup of coffee, and if you're a member, come back for our annual meeting. Thank you.